love Wendy. I'm so appreciative of what you're all doing. The work of knocking on doors is the most important work in a campaign, but it's also the hardest work of a campaign. And when people show up and do that hard work, it is inspiring for me to see. But obviously you're not doing it for me. You're doing it for so many reasons with regard to what's going to happen in our state depending on the outcome of this race. Now, for many, many months, every political pundit has been counting us out. But we know the power of people, and I believe in the people.
Yay!
I was counted out in both of my Senate races because I ran in a district that was drawn for a Republican to represent. And we won because we did this kind of work. Day after day, week after week, month after month, we had conversations with people about what was at stake in the election. And as you're continuing to make your phone calls and knock on doors, I know you'll each have your own personal reason that you're supporting me as your next governor. And I ask you to start by sharing whatever that is, because when we're authentic and sincere as we talk to people, it really helps. But I also want you to know the reasons that I believe it's important that we win this race. Because depending on the outcome of this election, Texas is going to go down two very different paths. We know that I have a long record of fighting for our children. And for me, with all of the other issues that are a part of this race, nothing is more important than that one. Because I know what the future looks like under Greg Abbott for our children, and I do not like what that looks like.
No.
We've watched him for the last 3 years fighting in court to keep our schools underfunded, to keep teachers laid off and schools closed and classrooms overcrowded, and yet on the campaign stump he says, I want to make Texas #1 in education. As Maya Angelou says, when someone shows you who they are, believe them. And he has shown us time and time again who he is. We also know that incredibly important in the next decade for people of the state are going to be some very important issues with regard to minimum wage. We have a $7.25 minimum wage. It's $15,000 a year. And over 2.8 million Texans would benefit from an increase to $10.10 an hour. And over half of those 2.8 million people are supporting families. You cannot support a family on $15,000 a year. And I know that because I've been there. And I want the people of this state to know that they will have a champion in the governor's office who is working for them. We know what Greg Abbott's position is on that. He has said he will not support an increase, and not only that, but he heads a party whose platform actually calls for doing away with the minimum wage altogether. We also know that he has said, unbelievably, that he will veto an equal pay for equal work bill. Now, why anyone would take that position is beyond my understanding, but I watched it happen once before. I fought so hard in this last legislative session to get a bill out of the Republican-led Senate to pay women equally for equal work. And I was proud to get bipartisan support for that bill. My colleague Symphonia Thompson in the House got bipartisan support for it there. We delivered it so proudly to the governor's desk, and he vetoed it.
Yeah, right.
And Greg Abbott has said that he will veto it too. And this isn't just an issue that affects women, it affects families all over our state, and it affects our economy when people are underpaid and they can't put resources back into the economy to grow it and strengthen it. That is a very important issue at stake in this election. We also know that our governor and Greg Abbott have both stood on stubbornness and said that they're not going to take $100 billion of our tax money and bring it back to Texas. It's our money. We're writing the checks, and guess what? Our checks to the IRS are not going to get any smaller if we don't bring that $100 billion down in the next 10 years and put it back to
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Greg Abbott thinks it's a good idea to send that money to supplement the health care costs of people in New York and California. He is California's best friend in Texas. And Texas needs a best friend here.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
We have plenty of great Texans. We just need to make sure they all go out and vote. And we also want to make sure that people understand what Greg Abbott and others like him have been up to in order to win these elections. We've watched 2 decades now of Republican-led redistricting that have cracked and packed districts so that minorities in the state of Texas are losing their opportunity to have a voice at the ballot box. And we saw an even greater assault on that with the voter ID bill that is proven to disenfranchise about 600,000 legally voting Texans in this state. And that voter suppression, that desire to quiet voices rather than worry about responding to what their concerns might be, that's what this race is all about. It's about making sure that the people of our state who do have the privilege of a photo ID remember and give honor to all of the people who don't. The legally voting people in our state who have lost their voice. Let's make sure that we all exercise our voices on their behalf.
Right on. Right on.
We have so much to hope for in the next 9 days, and do not believe for a moment that we cannot win this race. And remember,
That's right.
that when Ann Richards was in this very same spot, this very same date out from election, the polls were showing her double digits behind. But the only real poll that matters is the one that's taking place right now. Through early vote, we're going to push as many people to vote early as we possibly can, and then through election day. And I want you to know that I have faith and confidence in all of you. I have faith and confidence in the people of this state, that they understand the issues, that they're going to speak out and they're going to say. We want our children to have a bright future. We want people who are working hard to earn livable wages. We want women to be treated fairly. We want people without health care to have it. And we are willing to go and express our voices in the most powerful way we can in order to accomplish all of that. We are going to vote. And on November the 4th, we are going to win.
Hey!
Thank you so much.
Thank you for what you're doing. You will win.
Pleasure.
You will.
You made me cry. Sweet.
I appreciate that. I love you too. Thank you. We're going to do this.
We're going to do it.
We are.
Have you heard of the website called Reddit?
Yes.
Have you done an AMA on there? Ask me anything.
I don't know what that.
It's Ask Me Anything. I can go get my tablet. I've got 1,000 votes for you right now.
You know what? If you would, this is my press secretary, Hector.
How you doing, Tim? Nice to meet you.
And if you'll give him those questions, and we can look at them and have time.